How long have you gone without eating? A day? 2 days? And how did you feel during this deprivation? Anxious? Jittery? Did you start looking at your pet guinea pig differently? I know I did, but that's another story. Most of us these days get to eat like royalty from dusk till dawn, and sometimes the wee hours in between. But not all inhabitants of this earth have it quite so easy. No, some creatures require meals that aren't as convenient as just around the corner. In fact, sometimes even you might be on the menu. So let's prepare ourselves. Get it? I didn't even intend on... Well, anyway, let's prepare ourselves by exploring how such a creature might go about finding its next bite. Some summertime in the city. Well, not a city in this case, a coastal town, actually. It's morning, and the rising sun colors the calming blue sky with the countless pinkish-red clouds. The sky pairs nicely with the miles of shoreline that lead to an endless ocean. Basically, it's a Bob Ross painting in 3 dimensions. Happy sand. The crashing waves provide the only activity at this time of day. A rotund woman in her late 60s with a hairstyle that was fashionable when fashion didn't exist walks her black and white border collie. They follow a paved path that runs parallel to the ocean.
Quiet, Thelma. What's gotten into you?
Thelma lurches and extends her leash to the max, nearly pulling the woman off her feet.
For Pete's sake, girl, what is it? Is Timmy stuck in a well somewhere?
Like a soldier standing at attention, Thelma points its nose to a most curious sight out on the beach.
Oh, my.
The lifeless body of a naked blonde woman appears from the foaming tide.
Hey there! Do you need help?
Using Thelma as an anchor, the woman reels herself by the leash next to her dog. She looks around in all directions and notices she's the only help in sight. With caution, she disconnects the leash. The dog bolts to the lying woman. The owner waddles over. Both the woman and the dog are eager to play Good Samaritan. As the tide recedes, Thelma approaches and takes a small sniff, then a lick. With a twist, the blonde woman springs to life. She hoists herself up onto her knees and coughs up what seems to be a jug of seawater. The dog cautiously backs up. The young woman eyes the dog and it retreats to its master with a yelp. The rotund woman can now see the sea woman's face. She's young, perhaps mid-20s, with long, unmanageable hair and piercing green eyes. The rotund woman takes a timid step closer. Thelma turns on her owner and blocks her path.
Get out of my way! What are you...
She tries to sidestep her pet, but Thelma snaps.
What? Why, you little brat? You are so gonna get a pat on the tush if you don't knock this off!
Behind Thelma's snarls, the woman hears crying. Remembering something, the sea woman searches the sand around her and plucks out a gold chain necklace with an emerald charm that was partially buried in the sand. With haste, she flings it around her neck.
Excuse me, miss. Are you okay? I'm trying to help, but my dog...
Thelma whimpers, then runs away.
Thelma! Hey, Thelma! Why, that little... I can't believe her.
The rotund woman digs out a phone from her pocket as she waddles toward the sea woman. The sea woman eyes her company. It's an intense look that's a mix of hate, desire, and terror, like a hungry, injured wolf. Looking up from her phone, the rotund woman's face goes pale. Her eyes widen and the hairs on the back of her neck stand straight up. The sea woman gets to her feet like a newborn just learning how to walk. Her legs wobble and knees buckle a bit as she struggles to gain her balance. All the while, the rotund woman fumbles with her phone. She's such a wreck that she spills a bundle of Thelma's poop bags.
Ralphie is never gonna believe this.
Before calling for help, the regretful Good Samaritan decides she should first record what she's witnessing for her Instagram. Her daughter had just set her up with an account. As she hits record, the young woman runs off, nearly falling along the way, and disappears into a nearby cove. The rotund woman finally navigates her fat finger over the red record button, but drops her phone in the sand. Before she can reach down, a large wave engulfs her ankles and swallows her phone.
Oh, for crying out loud!
The woman feels frantically in the water, but when the tide recedes again, the phone is gone. A full moon outshines the brightest stars and makes pale the edges of a boardwalk. Along this stretch of beach are dozens of cheap bars and nightclubs. You know the type. Beer by the keg, Journey's greatest hits throughout the night. I know, there's no such thing as Journey's greatest hits, but I don't make the jukeboxes. Hundreds of half-clad, sweaty bodies swarm from bar to bar as numbers are exchanged and X's are avoided. At the Continental, you'll hear the latest electro soft house dub, whatever the hell these assholes call that stuff. At El Gato, you can samba, merengue, salsa, or cha-cha slide until you're living la vida loca. Anyway, amigos, there is one bar that's not completely vomit-inducing. The music ain't actually too bad, and they've managed to get a few craft beers on tap. It's a tiki-inspired bar towards the end of all the action where the beach becomes punctured by sharp, dark rocks. The townies call it the Rusty Porthole, but that's not even what the sign reads. Inside of the Rusty Porthole, Rick, a square-jawed meathead in his 20s whose primary interests include lifting, tanning, laundry, and more lifting, stands with his boys at a beat-up-looking pool table. They're debating which color light looks better beneath their respective lowriders. From a back booth, a trio of short women with big hair and way too much makeup approach the men. The leader of this troupe, Melissa, takes a pull from an e-cig as she tries to cuddle up to Rick.
Yo, I thought I told you to wait in the booth while me and the boys were playing pool.
Yeah, we were, but it's hella boring.
Boring. Please, you should be glad to have any time with me, with a nose like yours.
You know what? You're a real jerk-off. I think all them roids made your balls and brain small.
Rick puts his hand up to Melissa's face with only inches between his palm and her aforementioned nose.
Tell you what, how about you do me a favor and buzz off? You and your ghouls. You hear that, boys? I said ghouls instead of girls.
Piss off, Rick. Let's go, ladies. Plenty of other fish in the sea. With bigger fins.
In a huff, all three women leave the pool table and begin to hunt for the next free drink. The jerk-off boys return to their slop and continue gabbing about imports versus American-made. That is, until the music switches to a new track. The conversation begins to fade out from Rick's ears. This new song fades in. Rick's never considered himself musically inclined, but this song almost sounds beautiful. He begins to look around and notices a stunning blonde woman sitting alone at the bar. She sits with legs crossed and her long hair tied up. Even from a distance, Rick can see her piercing, bright green eyes. Her soft curves are wrapped by a sheer pink fabric that contrasts sharply with her dark emerald necklace. Her face, without a single bit of makeup, would be considered, to use Rick's poetic phrasing, a perfect 10, dog. Well, you get the picture. She's good looking. Let's move on. Rick, almost in a trance, gently places the pool cue against the wall and leaves his bros and the rest of his roided life behind. Needless to say, no one notices him leave.
Hey there, Jennifer Lawrence. Need another round?
The woman picks up her glass and finishes the rest of the drink like a fish thrown back to the water.
I do now.
Yo, bartender, get this girl another drink. Stat.
Rick takes in the flawless features of the woman's face. A good bit of time passes before he thinks of anything else to say.
So, you, waiting for someone?
You.
Good thing I always come on time.
Smooth operator.
Rick smiles as if he expected this.
What's your name?
Do you really want to know that?
I do. I'd rather cry out your name than the Lord's. I'm a good Christian boy, you see?
The woman extends her index finger and taps it on Rick's chest. For some reason, he almost loses balance. Her beauty is unlike any woman he's seen. She's so attractive it hurts. He needs this woman like he's never needed anything before.
The name is Vikki.
I'm Rick. Rick.
You know, Rick, I'm bored. Want to get out of here? Have some fun?
The tilt of her head says it all, and Rick doesn't know what to say in return. This all feels like a sweet, drunk dream. He can only look into her cold, hard eyes. His mouth drops a little. His eyes glaze over.
Do me a favor, huh? Spin around 3 times.
Okay.
Rick does as commanded. Vikki smiles.
Now, tell me your deepest, darkest secret.
He leans into her. A bit of Rick resists. A distant voice in his head is screaming something he can't quite hear.
For the past 3 months, I've been dealing roids to the entire Del Mar High School football team. Go Sharks!
Vikki's smile breaks a little. She grips a chunk of her dress.
You did good, kid. Now let's go.
Vikki takes Rick by his 18-inch arm and moves him as she might a large, tranquilized animal.
Oh, wait! I don't want to leave my boys stranded. Let me just give them the keys so they can get home.
Vikki hesitates, then nods. Rick bolts back to the pool table. Vikki rubs the charm around her neck with her index finger and thumb. She holds it up in front of one eye and looks through its opaque lens. In the charm, Rick is only a few centimeters. The stone illuminates very slightly and gives off a low-frequency hum that seems audible only to her.
Just as I thought. Guess you'll have to do.
Vikki sighs, drops the charm, and glances around the bar. In the corner of the room, she focuses in on a particularly odd-looking man. His skin is pale, eyes sunken, and his long, jet-black hair is slicked back with about a quart of pomade. He's dressed in black from head to toe and appears as if he'd be more at home in an S&M club rather than a beach bar. Vikki studies him as he closes a small leather-bound book and stuffs it into his back pocket. He approaches a trio of buxom brunettes talking with each other at a table near the stage. The pale man tries to engage the women, but they all give him the cold shoulder. He moves to a different position until one of the women tosses a drink in his face. At first, her friends are shocked. Then all burst out into laughter. Unable to watch any longer, Vikki turns away and eyes a tall blonde man who looks like he used to be a member of an Ivy League rowing team. He plays darts with his short, chubby pal that usually gets his only exercise from button mashing. With too much enthusiasm, the two debate if a rise in interest rates will increase demand for foreign equities. Vikki grasps the pendant, hoists it up, and holds it over the tall man. This time, the stone gives off a different, higher-pitched tone and glows with more luminescence than it did with Rick. She softly grunts to herself.
I can't keep doing this. I just want to be free.
She lets the charm drop to her chest. She looks down at her stomach and winces in pain. She takes a hand and caresses her midsection.
Easy. You're gonna give us away.
Suddenly, an excited Rick returns with a grin ear to ear. His buddies look on in disbelief at his score. Then they immediately begin to argue who gets to drive Rick's car.
Let's go have some fun.
The bartender approaches with the drink Rick ordered for Vikki back when he arrived next to her.
God, they take forever, don't they?
The bartender looks up, but Rick and Vikki are gone. Clouds begin to roll over the moon as Vikki leads Rick away from the rusty porthole and down a narrow path toward the beach.
Hey, hold up. You're going too quick.
They weave through the jagged rocks until they reach a small cove. Vikki turns and sends Rick an enticing gaze. Rick stops at the entrance and watches Vikki continue inside. That voice still sounds in the depths of his very buzzed mind, yet Rick follows her into the dark hovel anyway.
What is this place?
Vikki lights a bronze lantern.
Home away from home.
Rick smiles nervously and looks around the cave. There are piles of ratty clothes, jewelry, camping supplies, and some furniture. Basically, it's a dump.
Sweet crib. But seriously, like what?
Slowly, Vikki gives Rick a flirtatious smile. She raises her hand to her dress. Rick watches in awe at the scene unfolding before him. The dress doesn't just fall off, it slowly recoils to her feet, like a pink snake. And it's at this point Rick realizes she was never wearing shoes, even in the bar. He doesn't linger on the thought long as he's mesmerized by Vikki's nude figure.
Now you strip down too, and let's go for a swim.
You crazy? The water's like freezing cold. My nards would totally shrink. What do you say we just like kick it here, babe?
Vikki begins to sing. She continues to sing as she steps like a dancer toward the water. Rick struggles to remove his clothes as he follows her into the water. Without any hesitation, Vikki lets the water engulf her. She floats on the surface, natural, effortless.
How's the water?
Perfect.
A nearly naked Rick now trudges forward. A strong wave strikes him above the waist and he inhales from the shock. It breaks his trance a bit.
Well, that's freaking cold. Don't go out too far.
Rick struggles on one leg in the shallow water as he plucks off his briefs. Calvin Klein, if you must know. The water now strikes his chest and he almost collapses.
Into the mighty and deadly waves of sea.
Rick closes his eyes and continues into the tide. The sea woman swims closer and wraps her arms and legs around him.
You're so warm.
So are you.
Rick can no longer restrain himself and kisses her with an intensity of a reunited lover. After a moment, Vikki pulls herself away.
Look me in the eyes.
Rick complies and lets out a whimper.
I'm sorry, Rick.
Vikki dips under the water.
Hey, Vikki!
From under the water, a bright blue light appears.
What?
Vikki's head slowly rises from under the water. As she does, Rick realizes that the glow follows her. No, is her. Her now scaly skin emits a teal, phosphorus light.
Vikki, what's happening?
Vikki's eyes turn black and large. From enticing and mysterious, they've transformed into something alien and fear-inducing.
Get away from me!
Rick turns away from her and towards the shore, but it's too late. Vikki grabs him around the neck like a giant squid.
No, please, no!
Rick and Vikki disappear together into the depths of the water. Slowly, the light emanating from Vikki disappears. Vikki emerges from the water. Deep red blood paints her blonde hair pink. In the sky above her, storm clouds gather and blot out the moon. They writhe and swirl with supernatural intensity.
Why? Why?
Back in the cave, Rick's dead body is missing chunks of flesh and bone from all over. Bits and pieces of his intestines and organs seep from all kinds of gashes and holes. The little bit of blood that remains in his body soaks into the surrounding sand. He wasn't just killed. He was consumed.
I didn't want to, but you see, I have to. They make me. And I hate them! That wasn't me back there. It was them. I have to eat. They make me eat. And you seemed nice enough. I've certainly met much worse. They deserved it. Okay, maybe you did too. No, you didn't. You told me your secret. I've heard so much worse. But the pain is pain.
With haste, Vikki springs to her feet and runs to the mouth of the cave. She raises her eyes to the stormy sky.
How much longer must you need me? When is it enough? Just let me go. Let me go!
Rain the size of dimes smack Vikki's face with force. In a fit of rage, she tries to throw herself into the ocean. This time, though, she's less elegant. Each large wave tosses her back to land.
Here, take what you want and be satisfied!
Frustrated, Vikki runs back into the cave and emerges with Rick's body. In a feat of superhuman strength, she tosses him into the water and the waves take him in. Vikki collapses into the sand and suddenly, the rain stops. It's early evening at a rock bar just called Pete's. It's anchored right smack in the middle of the boardwalk. Inside, Vikki, dressed in a technicolored sundress, is bellied up to the bar with an empty martini glass in front of her. The look on her face is a mix of agitation and anger. Her stomach grumbles, and as she caresses it, she mutters under her breath. A bartender presents to her a menu.
Hey, girlie, happy hour's still going. You hungry?
Not for food.
The bartender shoots her an odd look.
Okay. How about I get you a refill then?
Sure.
Vikki eyes her stomach until the TV mounted behind the bar catches her attention.
Early morning paddleboarders discovered a horrifying scene on Redstone Beach that has police struggling for answers. I'm Chris Cruz, and that's tonight's top story. Jess, there's this goddamn fly that won't get out of my... Details are scarce at this hour, but what we do know is that a pair of local beach junkies came across the body of an unidentified man who appears to have been in his 20s. Police have not answered any questions, but eyewitness accounts on the scene describe the body as mutilated and missing large sections of flesh, including, what we could briefly observe, his penis. Some say it was a shark attack, but there are a few who think otherwise. Quick to respond was Debbie Simmons, mother of 22-year-old Todd Simmons. Todd Simmons' body was discovered 9 months ago, also near Redstone Beach, after a night of drinking with his homies, as his mother puts it, at the bars. While the police ruled her son's death as an accident, Mrs. Simmons disagrees.
There's something nefarious, no, downright evil going on here, and it's being covered up by the corrupt city officials, the Knights Templar, big bankers, and who knows, maybe even the reptilians. If my son was attacked by a human or animal, then we would know. We would have answers. But my boy, and now this new victim, were not attacked by simple things of this earth. No, there are things that they hide from us. And I don't care if this is the most popular beach in the country. They need to shut it down. Shut it down!
And in national news, Lucy Lindbergh, the young girl from Duluth, Minnesota, that went missing in a cave and reappeared in the woods hundreds of miles away 3 days later, has just secured a book deal that's reportedly worth more than $1 million. The publisher of the book, Glasslock Press, promises that the book will answer...
Vikki jumps from the feedback. She covers her sensitive ears and looks angrily in the direction of the noise.
Testing, 1, 2, 3...
A 4-piece band appears on a small stage in the corner of the bar. A dozen or so patrons move about the standing room floor. A few of the local drunks turn their attention as well.
I am gonna need a stronger drink for this.
Near the entrance, Vikki spots the odd man in black from the other night. He looks exactly the same. Pale skin, dressed in all black, hair slicked back. But this time, Vikki finds herself a bit more drawn to him. Not attracted, per se, just fascinated. He's reading softly aloud from the small leather book. Carefully, she directs an ear in his direction and tries to hone in.
Eye contact is the key. Eyes have a direct connection to the mind. Once you are in the mind, the target will begin to fall under your spell. The female, if that is the target, is a creature of the mind. Bend her mind and you will break her spirit. Break her spirit, and you will feast. Well, that's easier said than done.
The bartender interrupts again. He clearly has a thing for Vikki.
That freaking guy, he doesn't know when to give up.
Vikki turns to face the bar.
Huh?
I saw you looking at him.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Hyde, you mean?
Yeah, I'd watch out for him. He's been coming here a few nights a week now. Arrives alone, hits on nearly every woman, drunk and sober, married and single, then leaves alone. He buys him these drinks, but he never drinks them. I would have kicked him out, but get this. Here's what he pays with.
The bartender reveals a gold coin.
I thought he was pulling my leg at first, but I had my friend Monique up at the jeweler's take a look. It's real and super old. She said it was worth over $400. After that, well, I figured Mr. Darcy could spit game as much as he wants. Even so, I'm keeping an eye on him, just so you know.
Thanks, but I'm sure he's harmless. He's clearly not from here. My guess is he's probably just lonely.
Someone needs to clue him in.
The bartender flips the coin into the air, catches it, then walks to another patron. The woman on the mic is now joined by another woman and 2 men. All are dressed in medieval-looking garb.
Yo, what's happening, Pete's Bar? Hey, can we get some lights up in this bitch, please? Like lights on... Lights! There we go! Huzzah! We're Altamira. We got here in a creeper van, and this first song is called A Wizard's Wand for a Fairy's Tale.
Vikki grabs the drink in front of her and guzzles it. She hoists the glass into the air to signal to the bartender to bring her another.
Thank you, Pete's Bar. Listen, guys, make sure you hang out and buy some merch, which our buddy Joey's gonna be setting up at that back table. Listen, we got t-shirts, stickers, and other wicked cool shit. Rock the Midnight Sun, Altamira, out!
Hey, wrap up my chords, Keith. I'm hitting the bar.
Wrap up your chords yourself.
Forget it. She's already drunk.
I love you too, Yuja.
The clearly tipsy lead singer of the band hops off the stage and makes a beeline toward the bar.
If you want a selfie, now's the time.
She gets no propositions. The singer takes a seat on a bar stool next to Vikki. She takes one look at her neighbor and says,
Damn, girl, you have the most perfect skin tone. I look like a vampire next to you.
Thanks.
You do the tanning booths, or like, are you just gifted by the gods?
I spend most of my time outside.
Are you from around here? You seem like a local.
That depends what you mean by around here. I've been from around here for a long time.
Is there anything cool to do around here? We're stuck here for a couple days and I want some excitement.
Like what?
Well, I'm interested in stuff like haunted houses, creepy museums, old forgotten cemeteries, death sites, stuff like that.
So, all things macabre?
Not macabre necessarily, just supernatural, otherworldly.
What exactly are you looking to find at these places?
Me personally, I think our world is just one of many worlds. I think there are things that cross over from other dimensions. Cemeteries are just one of those gateways to other existences.
Cemeteries. I never really understood the concept. You know, I remember the days when humans, were considered disposable. And now they cry at the loss of each other and put a stone on top of every last one they bury. Such distinction used to only be given to royalty. Now everyone gets it. It's so strange how these things change. I really don't get it.
Well, me either. I want to be cryogenically frozen. Say, what's a babe like you doing sitting here all alone? You should have someone on your arm. Or several someones.
I'm a little picky.
Oh, no, sure, I get that. Me too. Although, what do you think of that guy?
Chelsea points surreptitiously to her bandmate Joey, who talks to a few would-be fans at the merch table.
He looks nice.
Yeah, looks nice, but I don't know. Business and pleasure, that gets tricky. Even still, in the back of my mind, I think we'd make a good duo.
I know what you mean. My last suitor and I were paired together what seems like 100 years ago. Everyone in the school thought we'd be a perfect match, including myself, but turns out he was mating with everyone but me. Soon I couldn't take it. I had to end him.
Oof, savage.
Chelsea gives her new friend a high five and treats them both to a round of drinks.
You know, I like you. You talk funny and I dig it. Suitor. Mating. End him. Yeah. You know, I think I'm gonna start using more proper words.
Anyway, my point is, if you really want to be sure about someone, you need tools, like a soul stone.
Soul stone. I've heard of that.
Really?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry. Tell me.
Vikki plucks the stone charm from under her dress and holds it up for Chelsea to gander.
Whoa, that is so cool.
This stone shows a pure, good soul. When the soul passes through, it glows bright.
Wait, so why do you use it?
You're a sweet girl, but kind of thick.
Hey, easy, toots. I'm usually much sharper. It's just, drinks here have been pretty cheap.
I'm a siren, and I emerge from the sea when the gods demand it to find men with good souls. And
Man, our fans are so weird. Yeah, no, listen, you have to meet Keith. He writes all of our songs.
Chelsea grabs the charm and holds it up.
Okay, I want to see this thing in action.
Careful. All you do is you hold it up to a person and look at him through it.
Vikki holds it in the air, and Chelsea sloppily navigates it towards Joey. She squints one eye to get a gander. After a moment, nothing happens. She tries the other eye, then sighs.
Nothing. Figures.
She flicks it away, and it drops back to Vicky's chest.
So, what happens if you find a good soul?
I eat it.
Wicked. You know what? I think you and my friend Pilar would get along great. She likes to destroy men, too.
Suddenly, the pair are startled by a man behind them.
Hey, Chelsea. We came all the way from Georgia to see you guys, and we got some shots lined up at our table, a game of D&D, if you guys want to join.
Shots? You got it. Hey, nice to meet you, Siren.
Chelsea side kisses Vikki on the cheek and hustles over to the nerd table. Suddenly, Vicky's stomach growls and she writhes in pain. She holds up her charm and passes it over the male fans Chelsea sits with at a booth. The second one she hones in on, a pudgy, bearded man, makes the charm glow. It gives off more light than any other potential victim yet. The sound it gives off is louder as well.
I guess you'll have to do.
The pudgy, bearded man seems to notice the music, then spots Vikki staring at him. Shyly, he waves. She likes a man with a bit of courage. Liquor enabled or not, it's a good sign. She lets go of her charm and beckons him to her. Vikki leads the pudgy, bearded man down the secluded path towards the cove. In the sky, the clouds gather to cover the moon. On Earth, the wind picks up. Vikki eyes the sky nervously.
Hurry up, Taylor.
Sorry, I'm a bit out of shape.
He stops.
I really don't know if this is a good idea. I'm kind of tipsy, and I've really wanted to hang with Altamira for a long time. I feel bad just for leaving.
As if a bit hypnotized, he ceases his protest and continues to follow her.
I guess it's okay. I could see him at another time. It's not like they're going to be too popular anytime soon. They really don't have any crossover appeal. I like that their songs are otherworldly like Zeppelin, but overall...
Taylor, maybe it's best to keep your voice down. We don't want anyone to hear us down here and bust us before we get a chance to have some fun.
Right. Sure thing.
Back to a familiar scene. A naked Vikki floats on top of the water. A nervous Taylor, currently a victim of shrinkage, flirts with the possibility of entering the water.
It's so cold. How can you stand it?
Are you kidding? It's perfect. Come in and you'll be rewarded. I promise.
Slowly, Taylor makes his way to Vikki. She wraps her arms around him.
You have quite a grip.
Taylor, let me ask you something.
Sure, anything to take my mind off how cold it is.
What would you do if, hypothetically, you were an immortal spirit who was cursed to kill the good souls on Earth?
I'd do what I'm doing now, I guess. Search for answers on how to break the curse.
Of course you would. Because you are one of the good ones. Unfortunately for you, I am one of the bad ones.
Suddenly, the sea calms and Vicky's skin begins to glow. Her eyes go dark. Sharp, jagged teeth appear in her mouth.
What's going on? I'm scared.
No, I won't do it. I can't do it again.
Vikki morphs back into her human form and throws Taylor off of her.
Go. Get away as fast as you can. I can't save you, but you can save yourself.
In a speed you'd think not possible for a man of his pear shape, Taylor swims like a frantic dog back to the beach. Vikki struggles to keep herself in the water as the waves push her back to land. Above her, the storm clouds gather. Thunder almost speaks. Back on the beach, Taylor whisks up his clothes and runs for the path, never breaking stride and never looking back. Eventually, the water wins and pushes Vikki onto the sand. Waves punish her blow by blow until she crawls back to dry sand.
Don't make me.
She grabs her stomach and rolls around in unbearable pain.
Okay, fine, I'll do it.
The thunder continues and the clouds swirl. The boardwalk is at peak popularity for the night. Humans hunting for a little love, affection, and whatever else they can get move like cattle in and out of the bars and streets. It's now just after midnight, and a good time is being had by all. At a country bar in the heart of the boardwalk action named The Bullship, Vikki, back in her colorful sundress, enters through the saloon doors. Now she's the odd-looking one in a room of Daisy Dukes and cowboy hats. The bar is more crowded than usual, and she has trouble finding a good stakeout. As she makes her way through the rootin'-tootin' crowd, she garners many stares by several men who immediately get smacked by their girlfriends or wives for looking. Vikki finally stakes a bit of real estate in between a mechanical bull and a jukebox. The bull stares at her menacingly. Desperate for a worthy target, she fishes out her charm and scans the dance floor. Finding nothing strong enough, she drops the charm and sighs. Out of the corner of her eye, she sees something familiar. The pale man in all black sticking out like a sore thumb. Or in this case, a normal thumb on a hand where all the other fingers are sore. He's engaged a pair of ladies in conversation. One has raven hair and the other bright pink hair. He maneuvers around the table, attempting to keep their attention. It doesn't appear to be going well. Vikki directs her ear in his direction and listens.
Before I leave, allow me to beg of you maidens, ladies, a question. You enjoy questions, right?
Was that the question? Then no.
No, it was not. Allow me another try. How many drinks do you think have been poured tonight?
100. What are you, some kind of aspiring pickup artist? Try the other end of the bar, Vincent Price.
The pink-haired woman puts her arm around the raven-haired woman.
This is my sister, and I have pepper spray.
Winston backs away, frustrated, yet also patient. He digs his book out of his back pocket and begins to softly read it out loud. Vikki continues to watch and listen to him as he cowers in defeat.
Opener number 6. The attention steal. Cause a scene that will command attention. Once attention has been received, begin to build on it by making the target turn its attention back into itself. Make the self-attention negative if the target's mind is thinking negative. Thoughts about itself, your compliments will be welcomed, making you more attractive in its mind. Example of the... Alright, I got it. Alright. Hold firm, Winston. You've been through this before. Just not in times so strange.
Out of curiosity, Vikki grabs her soul stone and holds it up to Winston. The charm flashes blue and temporarily blinds Vikki. The awful sound makes Vikki drop the charm and cover her ears.
Ouch! But bingo. I wonder if...
Vikki eyes Winston again, except this time, he looks up and notices her staring. They lock eyes with each other. It's odd. Vikki, the eternal seductress, finds herself drawn to this unattractive man, almost as if there is some sort of understanding between the two. She breaks the gaze and pushes her way in front of the jukebox. As she does, Winston's eyes follow her. Vikki shifts from around the jukebox and gazes at Winston again. Winston perks up at the tune. To him, it seems a bit familiar, even though that's impossible. He can't help but be mesmerized by the song's beauty. He feels his defenses and senses fading. With grace, Vikki begins to make her way to him. The scene is viewed with amazement to a few onlookers. Is this a drug deal? Or does this creeper really have that much game?
What are you reading there?
Pardon?
She snatches the book out of his hand and ganders at the cover. The title is embossed with gold lettering. The words look like some older form of English.
What does this say?
Winston at first begins to think of a cover, then decides a different strategy.
Seduction.
Seduction? Now I see why you're sitting alone.
She tosses the book back at him.
Books never work.
Winston smiles, enraptured by her beauty. But unlike other men, he appreciates her beauty with a detachment.
Perhaps for the likes of you.
I know it's a cliche, but just being yourself goes a long way.
Be careful to whom you say that. In another life, myself didn't go so well.
You know what your real problem is? Your style. You look like you came out of a morgue.
Winston examines himself with stubborn pride.
Don't you fancy it? It was quite a hit before.
Ugh, I don't fancy it at all. Let's just say black leather does not work on everyone. Not someone with your features.
Perhaps you're right. I've been thinking over a few different wardrobes.
Who am I to judge? I probably look like I just rolled out of the sea. I feel like I'm in some weird costume myself.
No. You're beautiful.
For a brief moment, Vikki is paralyzed. This man's words feel more than just words. She flashes a smile, but it comes across more sinister than fatuous.
See? That wasn't so hard, was it?
What?
You really are clueless.
Vikki playfully slaps Winston's arm.
To tell me that I'm beautiful. That's all you really need to do.
Winston locks eyes with her and she returns the glance.
What's your name?
Vikki doubles over in pain and grabs her stomach.
Are you all right?
Vikki collects herself.
Oh, fine. I'm fine. Bad cocktail.
I'm Winston Ethelred, of Lindisfarne.
Of Lindisfarne? How regal.
It's really not. A village, really. Was a village.
Where are you from? Guessing by the accent, I gather not these parts.
My home is gone, you might say. I'm what you probably call a vagabond or a transient. I've been traveling for a long time. We used to call them wanderers.
Searching or escaping?
A way out is how I choose to view it. And if not that, then at least better food.
Huh, I guess we're two peas in a pod. I'm a foodie myself.
Then, both fall short of words. A feeling resonates between them. Winston drops his head a bit and takes a step closer to her.
You might say I'm desperate to live again, even if that means embracing death.
Vikki looks him deep in the eyes.
Winston of Lindisfarne, tell me your deepest, darkest secret.
Winston smiles again, each more truthful than the last, but none revealing. He's a difficult victim to read.
I'm a lot older than you think.
Interesting.
Winston squares off to Vikki.
Spin around 3 times.
You first.
They both spin in unison, transcendent from the honky-tonk madness around them.
You know, it could be the liquor talking, but since we're so close to the ocean, what do you say we get a little wet?
I must say, in all my years, I've never met a woman quite like you.
A full moon hangs low, courted by threatening clouds. The tide is high, the waves aggressive. Vikki walks in front of Winston as they inch closer to the beach. Winston begins to shake in anticipation. She stops.
I can't hold off any longer.
He reaches out to grab her, but she escapes with lightning speed.
Easy there, killer. I like to play a bit first.
I see.
Vikki runs out to the beach. Her dress uncoils like before, but Winston, for some reason, does not catch this anomaly. The water from the ocean crashes into her feet. Winston watches her body sway as she heads closer to the water. He removes his buckled boots and begins to walk toward the beach. Before his feet touch the sand, he stops, frozen in place. No matter how beautifully she sings, he draws no closer. Pain anguishes his face.
What's the matter?
I'm not sure. Do you live nearby, perhaps?
You could say that. Come to me. It's okay.
As if a block of ice melts around him, Winston breathes relief and moves toward the beach.
How is this our home?
Take off your clothes.
Winston complies and begins to disrobe. As he does, Vikki notices strange tattoos resembling calligraphy covering his upper back. He places his clothes in a neat pile and puts the book on top. Completely naked, he begins to make his way to the surf. A big wave smacks Winston above the waist, but he does not recoil. He seems unaffected entirely.
I haven't been in the sea since I was just a lad.
Winston wades to Vikki. As he nears, she extends her arm, grabs him, and pulls him close.
I'm so glad that I was able to entice you.
She moves in close to him and the two lock lips. Winston returns the kiss with a deep passion. Finally, it seems all his patience and seduction have paid off. Then, Vikki pulls away.
You're cold.
Vikki, I'm sorry. You seem a delicate creature, but you must understand, I'm really a monster.
In an instant, Winston's eyes turn yellow. He opens his mouth wide enough to fit a grapefruit and reveals a pair of fangs. He sinks them into Vikki's neck. All power and control leave her. Without struggle, Winston pulls Vikki to shore while keeping her flesh in his mouth.
Monster.
As Winston continues to feed, Vikki suddenly begins to transform into her alternate self. Winston watches in amazement. Her once smooth bronze skin grows scaly and green. Razor-sharp teeth grow in and out of her mouth. Her legs morph into tentacles, then back into legs. It's her death gasp. Through all of her flops and flails, she releases no scream. As her body goes completely limp, Winston finally rips his mouth away from her neck and lays her body aside.
I've heard of beautiful creatures like you in my travels, but I did not believe they were real.
Winston feels Vikki's blood running through him.
Auf Timan Haga Are Gebideth.
Allow me to translate. He says, often the solitary one finds grace for himself. Winston lies back on the sand and undertakes another transformation. His pale skin grows darker. The thin layer fat that covers his body morphs into toned muscle. His hair goes from greasy to rich and full. Well, you get the picture. He's now a good-looking guy, like David Beckham with more swagger. Little by little, the light that illuminated from Vikki's body goes darker and darker, until it's out completely. On the beach, the waves gently caress Vikki's lifeless body. Winston continues to speak in his native tongue, but translated. Here's what he says.
As is tradition, thank you for your sacrifice, my dear. You've brought me back to full strength. I'm myself once again. I'm truly sorry I had to do this to you. I would have much rather feasted on a mortal. They're much more disposable. I didn't ask for this life. It is forced upon me. As I'm sure you know, there are demands that need to be fulfilled to survive. You knew the hunger as well as I. There are many ways for my kind to go. Starvation isn't possible. I'm sure you understand. We all have our masters, in one way or another.
After a moment, Winston picks up her body and carries it to the sea. With extreme care, he places her body into the water.
Go the way of our gods and kings, noble creature.
Her body tosses and turns on the surface, but eventually disappears, accepting its death. Winston walks back to his pile of clothes and begins to get dressed. He picks up the seduction book and runs his fingers over the embossed lettering.
Now it's time for revenge.
He looks out to the sea and, to his horror, he notices an orange ridge quickly appear on the horizon. The sun. Had the hour really been so late? How could he have been so careless? As if to facilitate his now unavoidable doom, the clouds clear from the sky.
No, not like this.
But it's too late. There is nowhere to hide. Better to die honorably than as a hysterical animal. He closes his eyes and awaits his fate. And He's still waiting. Still waiting. Confused, he squints one eye open. The sun now rests peacefully over the horizon, yet Winston still stands. He looks at his body. Everything is as it should be. Better, in fact. Except he notices a throbbing pain coming from his back. He runs his fingers as far back as he can and feels long gashes. He pulls his hand back and sees blood. Realizing something, he feels his teeth. His hands begin to tremble and he drops to his knees. He begins to weep.
Thank you. Thank you, maiden. You have freed me. I am mortal once again. Gods have mercy.
After some time, Winston puts back on his clothes and takes a last look at the ocean. With a pitiful heave, he sends his book into the water.
I've always wanted to try those fish tacos I keep seeing. And, what's that green thing? Guacamole. And perhaps I'll get ice cream afterwards.
And with that, Winston sets off to finish his long life. In the dark depths of the ocean floor, Vikki's body moves side to side as it sways in the current. Her eyes spring open. She frantically grabs her neck.
What? I'm alive? How is that possible? What's happened to me?
She looks around to see if she can determine where she is and runs her hand along her neck where Winston punctured her. Suddenly, she feels a sharp pain. Hunger. Except this time, different.
That man. He was some kind of creature. He's done something to me.
But her attention quickly turns to the hunger pains. She looks up to the surface of the water and swims for it. After breaking the surface, she sees its day. A perfect, clear day.
Masters?
Nothing. No thunder, no angry waves, just a normal day. She swims to the shore. As soon as she emerges, she feels a tingling sensation, then a slight burn. She looks at her body and almost screams. Her skin is turning into ash that blows away in the summer breeze. Her arms, her legs, everything is quickly dissolving into smoke. Panic overtakes her, but only for a moment. She manages a trembling smile.
Thank you, Winston. You have finally freed me.
Vikki spreads her arms and welcomes her fate. She can now, once again, join her family in the heavens. But before that, she is also joined by another person, the rotund lady with the dog, Thelma, again out for their morning walk. Oh, I found out that the lady's name is Louise. I know, but I don't make this stuff up. Thelma begins to bark like before, and Louise sees the smoking figure on the shore.
I knew I'd see something else. I'm ready this time.
Louise raises a small camera that's tied around her neck to the apparition burning up. Before she can hit record, Thelma pulls at the leash, sending Louise to the ground. Thelma continues barking and running until she gets to the scene. In fact, Thelma runs clear past the smoke. Confused, Thelma turns back. The smoke dissipates into the air. Whatever had been there before is gone. All that remains is a gold chain with an emerald stone. There you have it. History's most complicated dinner. And you thought food truck lines were long. At any rate, Hangry is a real thing, and a serious danger to society. So make sure you get your 3 square meals a day, and remember, if someone asks you to visit with him or her in a secluded dark cove in the middle of the night, just say no thanks and go home. Till next time, dear listeners, on The Hidden Pages.
Hidden Pages was created by Sammy Sarzoza and Aaron Goold, who hold the copyright. This episode is called Hunger Pains and was written and produced by Sammy Sarzoza and Aaron Goold. The narrator and news reporter were performed by Eric Pierce. Louise, Rick's Girlfriend, and the Twin Sisters were performed by Joyce Yu. Vikki was performed by Jacquie Walters. Rick, the bartender, and Taylor were performed by Jean Augusto. Chelsea was performed by Kate Huffman. Yuja was performed by Mary Taylor. And Winston was performed by Kaiser Johnson. Sound design and mixing were provided by Andrew Macht of the AM production. Artwork was provided by Yoga Adityana. Podcast and distribution services were provided by Ryan Garza of Podletter Media. This episode was recorded at MVP Music in Los Angeles, California. Visit thehiddenpages.net for more episodes and updates.
Good thing I always come on time.